introduce you to the Old English Tappit letter set. There's actually two sets. There's a capital letter set with the numbers attached to it, and then there's also a lowercase letter set that's independent from that. So be sure to look at those two different sets if you need them. This can be a little bit troublesome. Let me give you a warning. As one of our staff members pulled these out last week when they came in and gave them a shot, and had a little bit of trouble with them because they're so fine detailed. But let me tell you, with a little bit of advice, the right tips, some good technique, and the right tools, you're going to have a really easy time with this. So let's just walk through it step by step, and I'll show you what to avoid and what to do, and you're going to have great success the very first time you use them. Okay, so let me introduce you to what we're using today. I actually got about 6 ounces of the satin ice gum paste, and then I added an additional 1 teaspoon of Tylose powder, which is just going to make it a little bit stiffer than it normally is. It works great as it is, but that makes it even better with these cutters. I let that rest in there about an hour, up to 2 hours at least, to get this to work well and to let the Tylose work in that satin ice gum paste. So what I've done is I rolled it out paper thin. There's an old rule of thumb that if you can pick it up and put a piece of paper underneath it and you can read through it, then it's thin enough. So if you think you got it thin enough, maybe you don't, maybe a little bit thinner. Okay, so what I did was I rolled this out very, very thin, and then I let it rest at least a minute, maybe up to 5 minutes, just so that the surface can air dry a little bit. And I know that kind of goes against what you know about gum paste, that you don't want to let it dry out too much, but really letting that surface dry is going to help it from sticking in these little cutter sets. These are really, really detailed. So having that surface dry is going to really work with you. Having it really thin is going to keep it from being too fat and thick inside the cutter. You know how sometimes, like, let's say you have a liner in a trash can and you try to pull it out, but it's not coming out because of that vacuum? Same kind of thing. You don't want it in there so thick and gummy that it's going to create a vacuum. So super thin, nice and dry on the surface, and then what we're going to do is cut. What I'm going to do, instead of working with the whole patch of gum paste that I rolled out, is I like to cut out strips. So I'm going to cut out one about the width of the strip itself, and then in working with that, I'm also going to cut them into little squares. That helps a lot as well. You can be a little bit more generous with these just to make sure you've got enough room for your letter to fit. Now, for this, I kind of revert to the old gem method that I showed you in the gem cutter videos. But what I like to do is I like to spritz my cutter with a little bit of canola or vegetable oil. Give that a little spritz. And this surface is nice and dry. You'll notice I didn't use the canola over the surface of the gum paste. This needs to be really dry. This will release really easily. So what I'm going to do, this is cutter side up. Instead of cutting into the gum paste, it's cutter side up. So I'm going to pick up my little square and we'll do the C. All right, I'm just going to press it in there, and then I'm going to take my rolling pin and kind of roll it over the top. What I like about this is that you can really see if you've got a nice clean cut. If you have kind of rough edges, it's not going to come out as easily, and it's not going to look as pretty. I'm even going back over all of the edges with my ball tool just to make sure I have nice clean cuts. So now what you want to do, and I'm going to put on my glasses so that I see everything really well, I'm just going to take off the edge first, and then any interior cuts, I'm going to remove those first. And anything that's way out here on its own, really small detailed, maybe fine little joints like way over here, I'm going to take my scriber needle and I'm just going to kind of, at an angle, release it a little bit from the mold. Do this one too. And I'm doing all of these before I remove the bulk of it, and then the rest of it should come out really easily. So this is nice because all that Tylose powder's in there, and because it rested a little while, it doesn't stretch out of shape. You'll notice that I can pick this up and kind of reshape it if I want to. And I'm going to put it into the shape I want and let that dry, and then you can go back with a spatula once all of your letters are dry and really easily pick them up and just move them onto your cake surface and attach them with a little bit of clear piping gel or gum glue, that sort of thing. So I hope you'll give these a try. I don't want you to let them frustrate you. It does take a little bit of patience, takes the right tools, the right technique, and if you give them a try and put them on a special cake like for this upcoming Easter, or maybe a religious themed cake, old school type thing, really, really pretty letters, and I hope you'll give them a try. Thanks for watching.